text. We did not finish it. So we're going to try to finish that tonight and do John 14. But I want us to review real quickly. And let's see if I updated this properly. There we go. Okay. 2 Peter chapter 3. This text is generally read to mean that the earth is going to be destroyed or annihilated by fire. So either we will go off to heaven with Jesus, or we will live in a new heavens, new earth, because verse 13 mentions that. But it'll be a new heavens, new earth that is completely different and distinct, removed from our current system. So then we looked at this passage some more. And first, I already skipped that, but in context, this is a warning on judgment of evil. That's what's going on in this passage. So it's not just about random destruction, it's God trying to destroy evil. Also, we talked about how this text talks about three different worlds that have existed, three different habitable worlds. The first one was formed out of water, creation account. God separated the water from the dry land, and then it perished. It was destroyed through the water. What water was that? The flood. Noah's flood. Alright? So that world was destroyed through the flood. Then we have the second world in which we now live. It came out of the flood. It is being reserved for fire, stored up for fire at the command of God. And then we have the future world, which 2 Peter 3 describes as the new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. Alright? So three worlds in this text. There's a comparison to Noah, which is important. Whatever is going to happen to this present world with fire is compared to the judgment that God brought on the world through the flood. And I ask the question, did the flood destroy the world? Yes and no. Were things different than they were before? Absolutely. Did the flood bring judgment upon evil in the world? Absolutely. Did the ball of rock called earth cease to exist in the flood? No, it did not. Right? And so, yes, it destroyed the earth, but also it didn't. There was continuity and discontinuity afterwards. We talked some about fiery judgment, the use of fiery judgment in biblical prophecy and language. And this is in a lot of places in the Old Testament. We looked at Malachi chapter 4. And in Malachi 4, this fiery judgment, the purpose of it was to punish evil and wickedness, which is very similar to what we see in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. Where the fire is being stored up to bring destruction on the ungodly. And then we got to verse 10, where we bogged down for a long time because it's one of the really hard parts of this passage. We talked about textual criticism. Verse 10, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10, the earth and the works that are done on it will be blank. And we talked about the two different textual traditions. If you were here last week, is this familiar at all? Yeah, okay, good. All right, so there's one textual tradition that has the word that means burned up. There's another textual tradition that has the word that means laid bare, exposed, or found. And here are the two different words. Hurothesetai, which means will be found, will be laid bare, will be exposed, is the better preferential textual variant. It is found in the older manuscripts, the best manuscripts that we have. It is also the more difficult reading. It's hard to explain how it got there if it wasn't original. So using the rules of textual criticism, this is the most likely accurate original reading. And I think I shared with you that this is what it's called a critical text, but the official scholarly Greek text that people use today has Hurothesetai in it. Because this is the scholarly consensus of what the text actually said originally. So it didn't say burned up. It said the earth will be found, will be exposed, will be laid bare. Okay, so when this fiery judgment comes, the 2 Peter 3 talks about, it will work in such a way as to expose the things that have been done on earth, not destroy the earth. It is like a refining or a purifying fire. Like the flood cleansed the earth of wickedness, the comparison is made here to a fire that purges the earth of wickedness, where it determines what is pure and what is not. So this is what we covered last week. Tonight we're going to move on and finish 2 Peter 3 and talk about John 14. But any questions about last week's stuff before we move on? Questions, comments? All right, you guys are great. Set it all down. Let me say this. Ideally, what I don't want is for you to sit there and be like, this is just crazy talk, it's nonsense, and never say anything. I really do not desire to be an intimidating person. I don't think I am. But it can be intimidating to ask questions in front of 60 people or talk about stuff. So I'm available, one-on-one or whatever. You can stop by the office this week or send me a text or whatever if you have questions. But if you want clarification, please ask. I'm not as clear as I would like to be sometimes. All right? Moving on. Okay, so we are in 2 Peter chapter 3. So I'm not there yet. 2 Peter chapter 3. And we're going to try to finish this tonight. So, one of the big issues in 2 Peter chapter 3 we just dealt with, and that is this textual problem. All right, in verse 10. But also there is a translation problem, and that is in verses 10 through 12. There's this Greek word stoicheia. I'm in the ESV. Verse 10 says, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed." Heavenly bodies, and then also verse 12. "Waiting for and hastening the coming day of God, because of which the heavens will be set on fire and dissolved, and the heavenly bodies will melt as they burn." That is the Greek word stoicheia. Did anyone have a different translation than heavenly bodies in their Bible? Elements. All right, that's the other big one. Elements and heavenly bodies. So, this is not a textual issue. We don't have different Greek texts that say different things. They all say stoicheia. It's a question of how to translate that word. So the word stoicheia has a range of meaning. And it seems to you like heavenly bodies and heavenly bodies and elements seem very different. They seem very different to me too. There's a lot of disagreement about how this should be translated, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know which one is best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the different possibilities and kind of explain how they could work in this context. All right? So the first option. This could be heavenly bodies like the sun and moon and stars. And there is a parallel for this elsewhere in Scripture about how this language is used. Brent, can you read Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 4 loudly, please?
"All the host of heaven shall rout away, and the skies roll up like a scroll. All their hosts shall fall, as leaves fall from the vine, like leaves falling from the fig tree."
All right, all the hosts of heaven will what?
Rot away.
And then what's the next line?
The skies roll up.
The skies roll up. So there's a parallel in the Old Testament of using language to describe the things that are up in the sky and doing away with those things, rolling it back like a scroll. So perhaps, I'm sorry, Isaiah, okay, in Isaiah, it's Isaiah 34:4, and we're in 2 Peter 3:10 and also 12. Both of those places. All right, so there you have this idea, kind of this image of it's being peeled back, this top layer of, you've got the heaven and the earth, like this whole cosmos, and this top layer is being pulled back. It could be, in this passage, in 2 Peter 3, that the top layer of the world is being removed so that what lies beneath it on earth can be exposed. So if you imagine that you've got something with layers and you're peeling back the top layer, it could be that that's what it's talking about here. The heavenly bodies are going to be dissolved, they're going to be removed, and then you can see what lies beneath, because the earth and the works that are found in it are going to be laid bare, exposed. The wicked things that are done, and the good things that are, it's going to be clear and evident prior to judgment. All right? This is one possibility of heavenly bodies. Second possibility, it could be heavenly bodies as a reference to spiritual beings or angelic powers that Paul, in his writing, describes as powers and principalities. So, there's spiritual forces in the world. Some of those are in rebellion to God. They are evil. And Paul writes about this fairly frequently. And so it could be that this is a discussion of those things, spiritual beings, demons, if you will, but negative, evil, malevolent spiritual forces. So this would make sense in that it could be talking about kind of two forms of judgment going on in this passage. So first you've got judgment on spiritual evil, spiritual beings who are in rebellion to God, and they're dissolved, they're destroyed, dissolved, these heavenly bodies are done away with. And then that parallels with judgment that is coming upon human evil, which is what this passage is about. Right? Chapter 3 and verse 7, the judgment upon the ungodly. So it could be that there's this parallel here where first, the heavenly bodies, these spiritual forces, are judged and removed. The earth is laid bare and exposed, and the ungodly people are next in line for destruction. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying here? You don't have to agree to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So heavenly bodies are wicked spiritual forces, just as we are wicked, the ungodly are wicked humans. And this passage is talking about bringing judgment upon both. Alright? Are you following? Okay. Third option. It could be elements in the sense of elementary teachings or false teachings. And it is used that way. This word stoicheia is used that way elsewhere in the New Testament. Ryan, if you could read Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8 loudly for us.
See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human traditions, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ.
Okay, did you hear him say according to the elemental spirits? Did you hear that? That same word, stoicheia. And Paul here is talking about different kinds of false teaching. So it could be that elements, or stoicheia, is talking about false teaching. And the idea here would be that these false teachings will be destroyed, and then the false teachers themselves will be exposed. Their teachings gone have been destroyed. These false teachers themselves will be exposed and subject to judgment. Alright? So that's the third option of what this could mean. Now, when I hear the word elements, I think of things like the periodic table of elements, carbon, hydrogen, things like that. This is not what he's talking about. This was completely unknown to Peter's audience, and so this cannot be what it means. So what I naturally think of when I see that word is not what it means. Alright? That's a good example of how it seems maybe like a plain reading to us. The plain reading gets us on the wrong track. Because it could mean that because they're unaware of this. Okay? So, there's kind of 4 options here. Or, no, there's not. There's 3 options, and me saying the 4th is not an option. Yes?
And not like elements like earth, wind, fire.
Yeah,
Does
so
it have that sense either?
there is. It's a good question. I wish you hadn't asked it. There is a guy whose name I can't think of, who he proposes that is what it's talking about. I would just say it's a minority view, and generally it's not agreed upon. But if you're interested, I would be happy to run copies and you can read about it. Honestly, I found it unconvincing, and it's a very minor view, so I didn't put it up here. But yes, there is a guy, at least one guy, that thinks it's that. It's kind of the old school elements of earth, wind, fire, and water. Yeah, it could be something like that. But I don't think that's likely. But I say that, I'm not sure which one of these it is. But any of these could fit in the context of the passage. And it just you kind of have to decide which one seems more likely. And there is some overlap in them. What we see over and over again is, especially in the second, third one, there's evil being judged here. And that's what this passage is about. If you remember 2 Peter 3, it's a warning about judgment, right? These scoffers who go on scoffing all the time, things are always the way they have been. And Peter's like, no, judgment is coming. So you need to live in such a way where you're ready for judgment. All right. Yes, sir.
Galatians 4:3.
Galatians 4:3. Would you like to tell us what that says?
Even so, we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time had come, God sent forth the Son.
Oh, elementary principles? Yeah, that's probably that same. I bet that's stoicheia. Probably that same word. Did you have a cross reference to that? I I don't have my Greek text in front of me. I would assume that that elementary principles is
Just as well for me.
also, I would assume that that's that same word stoicheia. And it's saying, in the context there, and like I haven't studied Galatians 4 for tonight, but in the same way also when we were children, spiritually mature, we were enslaved to the elementary principles of the world, the false ideas of this world. We're not like that anymore. So there's this, that would be another example of stoicheia being used, elementary principles, something like false teaching. So that's another example there. All right. So I'm not real sure which one of these we're supposed to think it means, but all of these fit with the context of judgment. All right. Moving on, verse 13. When this judgment happens, the third world we talked about is the new heavens and a new earth. When all this happens, the present world is judged, evil is exposed and destroyed, and the world is changed, destroyed, in a sense, through a refining process. And the next world is described as the new heavens and a new earth. Now, this is interesting, I think. There are two Greek words for new, and they have some overlapping meaning, but there also is some distinction between the two. There's the word neos, which means new, like never before. And then there's also the word kainos, new, like a newer version of what has been before. So maybe it's an example. I think of this. Over 10 years ago, Apple came out with a little product called the iPhone. And it was kind of a game changer. It changed everything. It changed the way we used our phones, changed the trouble that teenagers get into, all sorts of things. I'm just bringing it into my world. So it changed everything. It was a game changer. It was a new phone, Neos, right? Like it was distinct. It was different from what came before. Now Apple comes out with a new iPhone like every year, right? And maybe the screen's a little bigger, maybe the camera's better, maybe it's a little bit faster, some new features, cost more, right? But it's really the same thing, just slightly different. And that'd be kainos, all right? It is new in a sense, but it's really just the same thing, just an updated, newer version of it, all right? The word that we have here in 2 Peter 3 is not neos, a new heaven and new earth, completely new and different from anything that ever existed. It is the word kainos, a new version of something that was already there before.
Does chaos mean better?
I want to be careful, and I'm not sure. I would need to look in more places where it's used. I think generally would have the context of new and improved, but I don't want to absolutely say that. What I will say is that on its own, the fact that there's these two different words doesn't prove anything, okay? This is not, the reason why I put this in last, this is not the strongest argument, but when you weigh it with everything else, this is additional evidence to the idea that new heavens, new earth is a refined, purified, restored, recreated, improved heavens and earth, rather than a brand new replacement for something that has been destroyed. Does that make sense? You see how these words have different shades of meaning, and the word kainos leads to a restored, recreated earth, rather than we threw the old one in a trash and we have a brand new one. Right? Okay. All right. Putting all this together, 2 Peter 3 is about a fiery judgment, similar to the watery judgment of the flood that will expose all that has been done. The wicked, both people and perhaps spiritual beings as well, will be destroyed in some sense. Now, I want to be clear about this. I am not denying that this passage has a lot of destruction language. It does. But we have to ask, what does that mean? Because this destruction is compared to the flood destruction, which was very destructive, but in a certain way. Right? Does that make sense? Secondly, earth is never said to be destroyed in this passage. It's not. It says things like, the previous earth was deluged with water and perished. This one is stored up for fire, being kept until the day of judgment and destruction of the ungodly, not the earth, but of the ungodly. It says the heavens will pass away with a roar, the stoicheia, whatever that is, will be burned up, and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed. That's what the Greek text says. Exposed, not burned up. So, if we hold in our minds to a vision of eschatology, what happens at the end of times, that this earth is going to be burned up. This text doesn't say that. So, we need to challenge our belief, at least with that. We need to be honest with what the text says. Because the text doesn't say that it will be burned up. It says it will be exposed. Still judgment. I'm not saying this is a happy, cheerful text. It's not. It's about the destruction of evil, so you better shape up and live right. Me too. But it is a text that doesn't say ever in here that the earth will be destroyed. The fallout of all this is that everything will be changed. This new heavens and a new earth is what we look forward to as Christians. It motivates us to live in godly lives. Real quickly, because we've got to move on to John 14. Combining this with 1 Thessalonians 4, so rewind your mind back to 1 Thessalonians 4, we meet Jesus in the air. We apantesin him, which means we meet him and do what? Bring him back here. That's what the word means. It's a Roman imperial term, right? So we meet him and bring him back here. Combining these two ideas together, let me offer a hypothetical reconstruction of how they might fit. Luke is not saying this is exactly how it's going to go. There's not a text in the scripture that says this. I'm trying to take two texts, interpret them, put them together in a plausible way, right? Jesus returns with the sound of a trumpet as the heavenly bodies are destroyed. We meet him in the air as this earth is laid bare and the evil works in it are exposed and destroyed. And our world is refined, renewed, recreated. Then we escort him back here and live with God eternally in a new kainos, heaven, and new earth. And we'll explore some of this more fully when we talk about some other passages. You might ask me for some details. I don't have many, because the Bible doesn't actually say detailed how all this is going to happen. What I'm trying to do is be faithful to two texts, which are difficult texts, but when we consider them in context and we look at the Greek, this is what they seem to say. This is a, in my opinion, plausible way to connect them. Does that make sense? We've got to do John 14, but this is a difficult passage. Before we move on, I'm going to give you time to say whatever you want. Yes, sir.
I did look up the Galatians 4:3. It is the same Stoicheia.
Okay, so the passage that Mark read, that's also Stoicheia being used in a very similar sense to the one that Ryan read. So Stoicheia as elemental teachings, false teachings sort of things. So that's a valid translation of Stoicheia. So is heavenly bodies. I don't know which one's right. Anything else? Speak now or forever hold your peace until later.
So verse 13, 2 Peter, is the second Greek word.
Yes, yes. New heavens and new earth in 2 Peter is kainos. So, new in a sense, but connected to what came before.
My reference is new as freshness.
Yeah. So, if you like fresh start sort of thing. I mean, if you imagine like all the evil's gone, it's been purged, it's been cleaned by water once before. I mean, like the flood was a judgment on evil, but after that we had a clean template, which we then got dirty again very quickly, right?
It also perhaps like a car. There's a difference between going to the car and buying a new car that just came off the line and buying a new car that is new to me.
Right.
It is a newer version of what I have.
Right.
But it is not a brand new car.
Right, and the only thing I would say about that is, a lot of times when we think of used cars, they're not very good. And I don't think that, like, that's not in this context. So, new and improved in some way. Like, maybe if, like, your car got banged up, and so they restored it better than what you had originally. Like, put a new engine in it that was better. I don't know anything about cars, guys. I keep getting myself into metaphors and understand. Yeah.
I know that I just stepped in my mind and said, I go to prepare a place for you. Are you going to relate?
John 14, that's where we're going next.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Before we move on, can you just intermarry those two passages again and read what you read?
Yeah. Jesus returns with the sound of a trumpet. 1 Thessalonians 4. Heavenly bodies are destroyed. 2 Peter 3. We meet him in the air as this earth is laid bare. The evil works are exposed and destroyed, and our world is refined, renewed, and recreated, and then we escort him back here and live with God eternally in a new heaven and a new earth. From my perspective, this could happen like this. Like, it might not take us like 2 weeks to go meet him in the air. You know? Like, it could just happen in the blink of an eye. I don't know. All right. John 14. We're going to motor here. All right. You're supposed to read this as homework. John 14, 1 through 3. Here Jesus says, let not your heart... This is right before the crucifixion, right? Jesus has told his disciples he's going to leave. They are super concerned about this. Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. Excuse me. Okay, you're supposed to read this passage and then answer the question, why would this passage be used to oppose the new heavens and new earth perspective?
It says, I go to prepare a place for you, like somewhere else other than
I'm going somewhere else to prepare this place. I'm going to come get you and take you there. Okay.
Could be a mobile home though.
I think it is a mobile home. That's great, Rick. I think it is. The nicest mobile home you can imagine. We'll talk about that. That's good. Never thought about that. Yeah. Okay. So generally, this is read. Generally, this is read to mean that Jesus is preparing a place for us in heaven. And so when we die, we go to heaven. Or when he returns, he will take us back with him to heaven. Is this the only way to read it? I don't think so. First off, part of the reason we look at 1 Thessalonians 4 first is that we need to consider these passages together. I don't think the New Testament throws out a lot of passages that contradict one another. We might struggle to understand how they fit together, but I think they fit together. So, from 1 Thessalonians 4, we know that we're going to meet Jesus and return here. Whatever here looks like at this point, because that's what the word aphantasin means. So we should already be skeptical about the traditional interpretation of John 14. At the point that we know 1 Thessalonians 4, it should make us wonder, are we missing something here? Does that make sense? Because we got to put these together. If we know for a fact that 1 Thessalonians 4, the word means meet and come back here, we should question ourselves if we read this to mean meet and leave. Does that make sense? Before you knew what 1 Thessalonians 4 meant, fits together great. But now I have ripped that Band-Aid off. And so you got to deal with it. You see what I'm saying? Like, a big part of this to me is we've got to be honest with the text. Even if it's uncomfortable. Maybe especially. And at the point that we know what something means, we can't just pretend it's not there. So we have to try to figure out how it fits with the other pieces. Alright. In context, what is Jesus trying to do in this passage? Well, look at verse 1. He's trying to provide comfort to his disciples. Do not let your hearts be troubled. He's told them that he's going to be leaving them, but that they shouldn't worry about it. Alright? Then, he says, I go to prepare a place for you. In my Father's house are many rooms or dwelling places. This word does not mean mansions. We got a bunch of songs about mansions. Mansion, robe, and a crown. There's a mansion now empty, just waiting for me. Mansion over a hilltop. Good songs. Bad choice of words. It's just not what the word means. It does not mean mansion. You don't get your own private mansion in eternity. At least not based on this verse. Okay? The word, literally, the Greek word is monai. It refers to dwelling places. It means a room. M-O-N-A-I. That's Greek transliterated into English. Similar to money. Monai. I mean, it sounds similar. Different meaning. But it's a room, a dwelling place. Now, some people have argued that this is a reference to the intermediate state, that this is a temporary place, a temporary room, like a hotel room, and that this is a reference here to the intermediate state. Remind us, what is the intermediate state? You know this. Time between death and judgment. So, when we die, if we die before Jesus comes back, there's a period of time in between there, right? That's the intermediate state, the time between your death and when Jesus returns. So some people think that this is a reference to that. So when the disciples die, Jesus is telling them that he's preparing the place where they're going to go when they die. I don't think that's what he's saying, though, because look at verse 3. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself. Is this talking about when they die? Talking about what? When Jesus does what? Comes back. So it's talking about the end part of the intermediate state, not the in-between, when Jesus returns. Okay? So I don't think it's talking about that. Another thing we need to look at. Verse 2. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. What is Father's house? What's that a reference to? In other places in Scripture. Father's house. Temple. Generally the temple. Think about, and Sue, there's a lot of overlap there, which we'll get to. But think about the story of Jesus and the little boy when he gets lost in Jerusalem. Remember this? And they find him finally, they're like, what are you doing? Where have you been? And he said, don't you know that I would be in my Father's house? Where was he? He was in the temple. Or John chapter 2, verse 16, when Jesus goes and cleanses the money changers, flips the tables, and he says, you have made my Father's house into a den of robbers, right? So Father's house is temple language. So here in John 14, Jesus isn't referring to a literal temple, but remember, temples are places where God is. And we talked about this earlier. We're going to finish. I'm confident. We're going to do it. All right. We talked about this earlier when we discussed the relationship between heaven and earth. Heaven is God's realm, God's space, God's domain. Earth is the domain of men and women. And we see throughout the biblical story that there are times and places where heaven and earth overlap. You remember us talking about this? In the garden, God created a place where he could walk in his creation with people. But we messed it up, right? Sin. Drove them apart. But there's other places throughout Scripture where we see this coming back together. In the tabernacle, in the temple. God has created a holy place where his pleasant presence can dwell among his people, right? We see this especially in the incarnation. Jesus, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That word dwelt in John 1:14 is the word tabernacle. He tabernacled among us as the temple. Jesus himself is the place where God dwells with man. You see that? He is God and man at the same time. He's walking around people, but he's God in the flesh. Later, when the Spirit comes, Paul says twice in 1 Corinthians, do you not know that you are the temple of God and the Spirit lives in you? Right? He says this collectively to the Corinthian church and also individually. As Christians, we are individually and collectively the temple of God because God's Spirit lives within us. God is with us. You see this overlapping stuff that happens. Are you tracking with me? And then finally, in eternity, God is going to be with us forever, and we will fully get to experience his presence as we never have before. Okay? So we see this overlap in many places. So these places, these temples, are like hotspots where God's presence can dwell with humanity. So here in John 14, Jesus is describing a place, my Father's house, where God can dwell with humanity. And the emphasis here is not on where it is. The emphasis is on that there is room for everybody. There are many rooms. There's not going to be a no vacancy sign in eternity. Doesn't mean everybody gets to go, but if you don't get to go, it's not going to be because there's no room. Right? There's many dwelling places. Jesus says that he goes away to complete or prepare a place or house or room for us. When he returns, we go to be with him. It's the same in 1 Thessalonians 4 and John 14:3. When he returns, we go to be with him. Same language. We meet him. When I come again, I'll take you to myself. Right? There's this meeting between us and Jesus when he returns. And then, Revelation chapter 21 and verse 2 says, the holy city, New Jerusalem, will come down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride. I'm really far behind here, sorry. All right. The holy city, New Jerusalem, will come down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. That word prepared in Revelation 21:2, the same word is used in John chapter 14 and verse 3. I go and prepare a place for you. Same word, okay? So, let's try to put this all together in 20 seconds. The focus of John 14, 1 through 3 is really not about what happens when Jesus returns. What is the point of this passage? What's Jesus trying to do? Comfort. This is a passage of comfort. Jesus' disciples, he wants them to be comforted in the knowledge that when he returns, they can be with him forever, wherever that may be. So this text doesn't really come down on the new heavens, new earth issue one way or the other, because its focus is on we're going to be with Jesus. Having said that, it does fit nicely with other texts, such as 1 Thessalonians 4, which we've looked at extensively, and Revelation 21, which we will look at, in a way that the traditional view does not. Because the traditional view says we're going to go away somewhere. But 1 Thessalonians 4 doesn't say that. But it fits very well to say, well, we're going to go and meet Jesus and then come back here. There's nothing in John 14 that says that can't happen. Also, Revelation 21 talks about this new Jerusalem, new heaven, new earth that comes down as a bride prepared for her husband. It's the same word for prepared. So, what I would suggest is that what Jesus is doing right now, among other things, is preparing our eternal dwelling place, which he will, in some way, bring with him when he comes. He was a carpenter. So, mobile home? I think so. He's preparing it. It's going to come back. All right, questions? I know that we kind of did that quickly. Do you have questions about that? You have homework for next week. We've been talking about passages that are generally used to refute this. What I hope that we've done is kind of covered, stripped away some brush, where now you can look at these next ones that we're going to look at in a different eye. There's not all these barriers that are saying this can't be what it's talking about. Hopefully, if nothing else, I either remove those barriers or I weaken them, or you can at least kind of see over them. 1 Thessalonians 4, 2 Peter 3, John 14. If you have questions, I'd love to hear them. Now we're going to start looking next week at some passages that talk about the redemption of all things, how the restoration of all things. Man, I'm so sorry. Here we go. The restoration of all things, the redemption of all things. Here are 4 passages. I don't know how far we'll get next week, but this is what we're going to start with. They're all pretty short, different contexts, but there's a lot of similarity. And hopefully, now that we have these other passages in our minds, we can kind of look with fresh eyes at some stuff that I bet most of us have never noticed Scripture actually says it before. I did not until I started studying this other stuff. Thank you, guys.